the more you spend time there, or if you don't have a work-life balance, then you will actually get to regret. I was glad to learn at that time, but my babies were very small. So I worked hard. And I think 4 years later, I honestly made a mistake. I was into that working hard and everything. Yeah, I was in that mood, okay? And feeling the kids were very small. I think God wanted to talk to me. Then I think exactly the 16th of December of 2010, I was crushed. I ended up in a hospital and I had an operation, all out of the loads of work that I was doing. Had an operation because I was not taking care of myself at that time. So to a certain extent, just because today I've got cash to just put petrol in my car when I go home, my kids need something, I can put it in. I think I'm okay. I'm living well. But the truth is, if I go to look at it, probably I was actually taking away from something I could have paid for that could have released me in the future. You know what I mean? So just the fact that every month I can meet my debit orders, I can do what you thought it was. So going back to that's what happened. When he was living, when we were working together, it was the most beautiful practice. We enjoyed it. And then it had a beautiful plan going forward with me stepping in. Let me explain to you why.
Yeah.
So for 6 years, Limpopo Northern Province thought they took me to school to study at Wits, and I didn't. They didn't. They did not pay for my fees and everything because I was one of those best students that were supposed to automatically get the scholarship.
Yeah.
Didn't get it. I did get it, but money was going out in my name, but they didn't pay for me. So when I came back, and there was that anger, the fact that I abandoned my call, because when they take you to school for those number of years, you're supposed to work in the province. Yes, which makes sense. But then I felt like, no, you didn't. And that's where it went. And then I could not get any job in a government setup. Then there was this white doctor who was having issues with his family.
Okay.
One of the very good doctors, really very good. He was actually German.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Doc, for coming through. I'm very excited for this episode because I have a passion for doctors.
I noticed.
Because I wanted to be a doctor. Wow. And then I was hijacked by my brother.
Wow.
Then I became a doctor in finance.
Wow.
So thank you for coming through. We are excited to have you at Numbers Don't Lie. It's definitely a story and a narrative about numbers.
Wow.
We're just having a conversation, but at the end, we'll attach it to a number.
Good.
So I just want you to just tell us about yourself. Who are you, for our listeners to understand your background?
First of all, I must say I'm very impressed with your warmth and generosity. You're very generous. For me, it's important because let me tell you why. For somebody who confesses and say, I've always wanted to become a doctor, and where I am, there's a lot of bitterness with such people out there. Doctors and accountants and lawyers. Accountants are even better, but lawyers who wanted to become doctors are worse. The world is bitter out there.
But I think you just need to convert it to say, because I converted it to say, I'm a doctor in business.
That's
so beautiful. The legal people must say, I'm a doctor in law.
Exactly.
So then you can embrace the whole experience.
Whoa, you should find the nails, all the fingers nailed out there to just make sure I don't feel important. You're not the only doctor on earth. But thank you for that. I've been a doctor for over many years. I've been a doctor for over 25 years.
Okay.
And I studied at Wits University, the medical school. Okay. And then we came at the time on the time of the Zuma, the lady, the Zuma, yes. Okay. So we're the first groups to do community service. I remember we were doing in union buildings, fighting it. The numbers lied there. We were in masses thinking we'll pull down this law, which came to effect. And then we did the first community service groups, and then of course, the most important thing about that was going for rural places. So I chose rural setup where my mother was born. I went to the Jane Sekukune area, and then I did community service, internship there, and then community service at Home Hospital. Okay. And then I found myself in psychiatry and mental health. And then 2 years later, I was in UK, working and studying with psychiatry there. And then when I came back to South Africa, when I came back to South Africa,
things were not the same.
Things were not the same. And I wanted to go back and work in my, I had this knowledge that I acquired from the British people, and I thought I would actually make it, I could put it to use in South Africa. So when I came back, the government was angry again. That's where the anger came from. The government was angry because they felt like I abandoned my calling with them. And to be honest, I needed to remind them, because when I came back, there was this thing that they thought I owed them for having taken me to school. The sad thing about it is I was the 1994-95 transition from government from Northern Province to Limpopo Province.
Okay.
A lot of cracks there. I was given a bursary to study with, but that bursary never landed in, Wits University never landed in my account. So for 6 years, Limpopo Northern Province thought they took me to school to study at Wits, and I didn't. They didn't. They did not pay for my fees and everything, because I was one of those best students that were supposed to automatically get the scholarship.
Yeah.
Didn't get it. I did get it, but money was going out in my name, but they didn't pay for me. So when I came back, and there was that anger, the fact that I abandoned my call, because when they take you to school for those number of years, you're supposed to work in the province. Yes, which makes sense. But then I felt like, no, you didn't. And that's where it went. And then I could not get any job in a government setup. Then there was this white doctor who was having issues with his family.
Okay.
One of the very good doctors, really very good. He was actually German.
Yeah.
And he was working in a very small town called Begersfort. But at that time, the town honestly had about 20 mines, big and small.
Yeah.
And he was one of those doctors who opened long hours, and he needed a partner. And then I joined him in. And then it became a very good partnership until obviously his life, he had to go. Yeah. So that's my story. Yeah.
The story just gives me goosebumps, I must say. Because it's really reflective of a story of being the first, like number one, like being the first. That comes with a lot of challenges. But I just want us to reverse a bit and rewind a bit and go to, where were you born? Like a bit of that. Then we'll come to the story, because I'm fascinated about that.
So I was born in Mokopane. Okay. I'm from Potgietersrus. I was born in Mokopane, yes. And then my mom is actually Pedi from because Northern Province confuses a lot of people. There's just so many. The Pedi-Pedis. Mapulani. There's a lot in Limpopo. That's why they say Limpopo is a country. There's a lot happening. So my mother is on the Pedi side, Raskukune, Jane Fest. Yeah. And then my dad was, may his soul rest in peace, he was a Ndebele of the Mokopane side. So we've got the Ndebeles, the Ndebele who are close to the Swatis, the Mahlangus, your province side, and then our side. So Renarele Mandebele Mokopane Zebediela. So I grew up there, went to school in the location there, Mahwilering, and then right at sub 1, sub 2, sub A, sub B, and then I think I did only standard 1. I get standard 2. By standard 2, my mama and my parents already felt, given the history about 1986 riots and everything, 1976. There was this thing about getting your child going to school, vacationing. Let's take them to the rurals. It was happening a lot. You'll find people from Tembisa, Soweto, leaving the cities, because that's where the riots were happening, and coming to other boarding school to villages, because they were safer, they were quiet, education could go on. So they felt, okay, fine, let's take you out of a location and then let's take you to a rural place. So they took me to Motsamaria. And I actually had to go through the lower levels before the boarding school or high school. Kile primary Motsamaria Durance Spruit, and I studied the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And then it put me at a better position to go into Maria, the high school, which was Our Ladies, a girls' school, a convent, managed by the nuns, Catholic nuns.
Okay.
I was Catholic also.
Okay.
Yeah, and the generation, my family had gone through that. So, but my parents were just worried about, they put me early. Took me away from the mess of what they thought was the mess, and they put me early there. And then I studied there from Maria. Then I got admitted to Maria, and I did the 5 years there, and I left in the year of elections, 1994.
Okay.
That was my matric year.
So you were saying you then went to VETS, right?
Yes,
and
I
then
went to
you
VETS.
were guys striking. What was about the strike?
When we went to VETS, I mean, we are the group where one of the very few, if you remember, medical school was Medunsa.
Yes.
So going to VETS was one of those rare ones, but they were already happening. So it was it's a Jewish university. We know that, very diverse. And then came the Zuma years. Zuma was the late, what came up? The prime minister at that time, the MEC of health was Zuma, the lady.
All right.
And that's why we call it the Zuma years. That's when she came up with this rule that every doctor who qualifies is forced to go and work in a rural setup. Okay. So they were doing, what they would do is it would be your internship, and then you would go for rural, which is a community service. So those years when they were put into law, we were still students. So we were surrounded by white students and everybody. We were rioting against them. So that's what I mean. We were against those years. That didn't work out. We finally, the law came a bill and everything. So we were put into rural setup. No regrets at all. It was actually the best thing ever.
So I wanted to ask about that because I secretly believe that every professional, actually it must apply to all the professionals. We all need to go and serve before we actually go into our own professional way, right? I secretly believe that. So I just want you to reflect on what that process means to the medical space.
It's very valuable. When I got to Beggarsford, for example, I found this white doctor who was servicing a very big community, plus the mine that he was serving there, day and night. And he was working alone. Okay? He was working totally alone. And you can imagine the damage and the impact it had on him psychologically, mentally, and his family. And to be honest, I know he doesn't have a problem with this. The reason he wanted me in was because the wife was already talking about divorce. Okay, so coming to the rural setup about it, or servicing, is when I got there, we were, still today, I'll talk about it, we are average 200 kilometers from Polokwane, 200 kilometers from Middelburg, 200 kilometers from Zanen, and then 200 kilometers from Nelspruit. What's your best referral center? There isn't. You're in the middle of everywhere, and you're servicing mines. So we used to talk about what we call Bundu medicine. Bundu being the word for rural, okay, for the white people. So when I worked with that doctor, it was about that. It was like, I'm going to teach you Bundu medicine. I'm going to teach you how to work without resources. I'm going to make sure you... Ceci, we did operations. Every little operation you can think of, we did it in those rooms. That was I'm saying, it was no regrets about it because I learned a lot. It was worse to an extent that, this is an adult show to ever, but it was worse that we were able to even do what we call vaginoplasty, where we could even reduce the size of your vagina, my dear. Sure. We could do it in our rooms. It was beautiful. It was really like I learned everything. Now I'm at peace. Whether I'm seeing patients today or whatever. Geez, I acquired my skills a long time ago. Like a bone that breaks, I know what to do. You crash now, I know what to do because I was thrown into the deep end. We were in the rurals and we were able to do everything. So that is very valuable. We need to make sure that our kids or whoever our graduates are first in an environment that is of need before we go to the resourced areas. For me, that is very important. You can't start from the top and go to, because you'll suffer.
Yeah.
Okay. You can't be thinking of bottled water every day to drink, and then next time you go to a place that is relying on a well. You're going to suffer. But you need to start from the lowest. I love poverty. I always said, when I do motivational talking with my kids, when I go to schools, and I emphasize the fact that if you come from an area where there's poverty in it, love it. If you wake up and tin fish, oh, Batum, enjoy it. Because you know what? The queues are going to be, your visits to me are going to be so less. You're not going to get sick from anything.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean? And that reading with a candle every night, if it still happens for you, love your environment. Because you develop a thick skin. You will survive. If we have, God forbid we get a Gaza today. If we get bombed, you will be one of the few to survive. And also your body changes, your body just gets adjusted to those things. Okay, so this weeds now we don't need them.
We don't.
Hey, because we could do our hair, broom, that's broom. That's what I mean. So working really, honestly, if people can really go out there, if your profession could also do that, because it's doing that with us. It's just sad that we're having kids who are very entitled now. I still see the kids. I've got my kids that I've mentored who are now working for UCT,
Yes.
Cape Town or whatever. And Michelle's playing, and I can see some posts. They're like, "What is the government expecting me to work with this little?" I'm not saying it is right, but I'm also saying you can still do more.
And I think it goes to the human spirit and say, because the human spirit is so strong that we actually created to create, but now we are so spoiled and we have everything that our creation element is now saying, what, I don't have this, but you have it in you.
Are you going to develop empathy when everything is being given to you?
True.
Are you going to feel sorry for a human soul, if everything is possible, if everything is just here in your space? You won't. And our profession still needs that. We still need people who can feel to the bone, who feel sorry for us, If I say, that's what I used to tell them. When the kids are like, and I say, who's your role model? And you say, Beyonce, Jay-Z, I say, rubbish. Woo, Jesus. Wow. Did Beyonce wake up in a shack ever in her life? So how can you measure your life and project it to that level if she has never been? When she says she's struggled, she's talking about a good walk.
Yes. So it's relatability and making sure that we understand where we are, our roots, the history, attaching it to that. And I think from your side, because you lived in the space where it was like the riots, it was the changing the government and the policies, like you really understand.
Not having it easy.
Yeah.
Not having it easy is, I think that's what God also wants out of us, really, honestly. And that's why maybe we get surprised. We get surprised when we go through issues in life, and maybe God takes away from a place of privilege. And when we get so dry, we don't understand why. It's because he says, I'm first.
Yeah.
And then you can always find everything from me. It doesn't have to be the electricity that we get every day. It doesn't have to be running water. You can still say,
survive.
Thank you. Thank you for a beautiful day. And when we are in that space, it says we are able to reflect. We're able to really get in touch with ourselves. And secondly, with the people who work around us. And thirdly, then with the people we are servicing.
Okay, Doc. So now you are in, is it Beggarsford?
I'm in Beggarsford.
Now you are working with a doctor, like a white doctor. What is the lessons that you are taking there? You are new in the environment.
You know what I loved about him?
Yeah.
He had, I love this, we'll come back to it, but it was this thing. Where you were saying numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
He had a very big practice. He had a big practice. He was just one doctor, opening day and night, contracted to 2 or 3 mines, which can have anything at night. Okay, and you have to get up, and you're the only doctor open. And then when I say numbers don't lie, but then what I saw was his practice would be very full, like it would be very full.
Yeah.
And then when it was the time for him to leave me, because of the fact that I came in too late, to be honest, marriage was already gone, relationship with kids was gone, there was no reason to stay. So he wanted to leave Beggarsford. When he sold me the practice, the numbers were different. This is where I say fame. Busy doesn't mean money. The practice will be full, but there was no money. There was no money. I remember when I signed in, the debt was close to between 450 and 500,000 that he was owed by businesses around. People, it could be medical. It was just It was just that. I mean, you're just famous for nothing.
Yeah.
Your fame is what cost you to lose also your marriage and your, you know what I mean? It just didn't show. And that's the full, I was listening to one of your podcasts where you say, where you could be like, if we don't look at numbers, we actually don't know where we are. And also we'll have a problem with planning. So to a certain extent, just because today I've got cash to just put petrol in my car when I go home, my kids need something, I can put it in. I think I'm okay. I'm living well. But the truth is, if I go to look at it, probably I was actually taking away from something I could have paid for that could have released me in the future. You know what I mean? So just the fact that every month I can meet my debit orders, I can do what you thought it was. So going back to that's what happened. When he was living, when we were working together, it was the most beautiful practice. We enjoyed it. And then it had a beautiful plan going forward with me stepping in. Let me explain to you why.
Yeah.
He graduated in 1978. He had it there on his wall. Go from KwaZulu-Natal. He came to KwaZulu-Natal, and in those days, the best universities were KwaZulu-Natal and producing medical doctors. It was KwaZulu-Natal and vets. So he had it there, graduation date 1978. And there I have my birth certificate, 1978. Do you get my point? So it was like that. He is that old. He was that old. Yeah. You understand? So it was young and old. It was black and white. It was female, male. It was the most beautiful combination.
Yes.
You understand?
And the contrast.
Exactly. It was like if you were a chief of a rural area and you just felt you could not speak English for that day, you wanted somebody who would understand your natural thing and say, I think I'm bewitched or whatever. You wanted a black girl. I was there. That day, if you wanted to speak to a man about your impotence, your erectile issues, or your men issues, there was a man who was older. If you were a racist, you had him. Yes. I didn't care. I had your money at the end of the day. But you had him, If you were a feminist or you believed in the new South Africa, yes. I want to support a black girl. I was there. But when the day closed, the coffers went to both of us. Yeah. It was beautiful. So we felt, it was beautiful. He had worked with the mines for long. He had all the knowledge, like I said. So I just sucked from him. I just sucked everything from him. I mean, in those years that I was with him, I learned a lot. I learned the mistakes that he made. I learned the successes. I learned how to become a doctor, a functional one. The ethos, ethics. And he was a very clever man. He was way ahead of his time. He was way ahead of his time. He has so many things, programs that he would draw up and say, end of the day, he would say, Lorna, what if we contracted to a medical aid and did this and did this and did this? You see the numbers. This is how it would be. It was amazing. So it was very nice. I enjoyed the time with him. He paved the way for me. And then when it was time to leave, he left. Yeah. But then this is what happened. When he was about to leave, unfortunately, because of that, this was said. When he asked me to come and work with him, because I wasn't ready to go full time at that time, I must be honest. Okay. I came with this thing, hey, I'm from UK. I saw how things were done. I had side business ideas. So I wanted to run the side business ideas and be a doctor. Yes. Okay. So his plan was, let's work 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. So let me do my 2 weeks so that I can know the last 2 weeks I've got time. But part of him designing that is he's thinking of long holidays with kids, long holidays with the wife, fishing in Mozambique. He had all those plans. Okay. Part of it was just because he felt like he needed to spend time. But the sad story about it, yes, with his family. But the sad story about it was like, Lorna, I would plan, he tried that and he said, I would plan a family holiday. And I'm thinking I'm catching up with my wife and my kids. And I'm saying, let's say Kruger National Park because we're close to Kruger National Park. Kruger National Park, he loved Mozambique. Or Mozambique, they would go fishing with him, with the kids. And then it would be like, what was very painful for me? I'm taking my kids with and I'm saying, let's go on holiday. No. My daughter says, Daddy, can I bring my boyfriend? Remember, they're white. Yeah. And she's 13. Oh. And for him, it was like, yes. I missed all the time. So now I can't even holiday with my child. She wants to bring
the other person.
And I'm thinking, and when I was working in those years, I was thinking, future for my kids. And let me work and make time. We think, that's what we think, my dear. We're thinking, let me work now, because I'll enjoy the money later. Hey, your money will be chowed by lawyers and doctors and everybody else because you'll be sick by that time. Hey, so therapy sessions for your kids. Your kids will need psychologists to deal with baby issues, daddy issues. That is what it is. So, I learned that from him. So it was very painful because he says, I just want time. I want time. But then when the time comes, it's just too late.
So it's very important that you brought that one up because most of our listeners are professionals and young professionals who are pushing success. So we need to really reflect and look back and say, but we're not going to gain this time. Today I'm the youngest I can ever be. True. So we definitely need to make time for the important things, myself included.
More than anything, because you're the vehicle of everything you're building. Yes. You're useless when you're dead.
So, Doc, I just want to tell you about one side. One side is a Tonga name, it's
I
woman.
I know that,
so I'm inspired by women.
Wow.
Like my greatest inspiration is women. So this product is designed... it's a brand that I run, so it's actually just designed to ensure empowerment. I want people to start their own businesses, like I reflected on the Avon model.
Oh.
Then I think it can multiply. So we are still building slowly. We are not there yet, but the vision is empowerment.
Where'd you get the time? Oh my dear, where'd you get all this? You're amazing.
So Saturday afternoons are for packaging. Sunday afternoons are for podcasting.
Oh my.
And then I need to find time for my children. Thank you for bringing that one
up. No, it's the most painful thing. But you know what? We can never stop growing.
Yes.
We just need... They say balance is a facade. It's not. You can still work around it. It might just be slightly tipped. But
and also delegation. Learning the art of delegate, because sometimes we want to do it ourselves. Like we want to be the smartest, especially smart people. Like the doctor that you worked with, he was too smart. Wisdom comes with the fact that you want a certain way, which is more perfectionism and all those things. So we need to reflect and learn about this thing.
But I think it needs. I think as much as you do a business plan, it needs to have a projection on it.
Yeah.
Because when you're starting, the vision is yours. It's only in your brain. Yes. Whether you like it or not, you still need delegate. Yourself fully, 100%, 120. And then when you're able to delegate, you're able to convey a message that you've already built. And you already know things are possible.
Yeah,
I always tell my kids, I don't know why I call them kids. They're doctors. They've gone to school.
Yes, my babies. I also call them babies.
You call them your babies. I'm so wrong because I always think Batum. And then I have to remind myself, I have to continuously say, Dr. Ntokoza, before you're my kid. But I always tell them, what's about, for me is, if you don't play in the field long enough, stay in it. Stay in it so that you can become an expert in it. And then as an expert, you're able to now delegate. You're able to teach and then get your... But then when you've got it in your head, then you can't cheat. You can't come and tell me.
And you can't tell
Doctor,
me.
It takes 4 hours. Why are we... It takes me 4 hours to actually operate this. I am an angel. I can do that in 30 minutes.
And they think we don't know.
And you think I don't know. And you think I was never your age. Like, my mama used to remind me when I was saying, it's like, no, I can't think you one. So it's important. So you don't feel bad when you're starting something. Those are the hours that God can allow us to really use. And then as long as we know when to let go and step out of it and then allow the systems to run.
True. So now you have taken over the practice, and is the practice now, how did you restructure?
It was tough.
How was the community acceptability?
It was tough. I took the practice in 2008. Yeah. And I didn't have any funding. And I saw Oriana, it's very profitable. And the issue with him was also the fact that I saw he needed money. I saw he needed money. So that thing I planned out, can you sell me the practice? I can pay per month or whatever. It was not going to work. And remember, he was also going for a divorce. So the practice was also going to be in line for the divorce. So what I did is I went out and looked for funding. Okay. By sheer luck, I went in, this thing, it's God's grace, I must be honest. I went into a tender group of meeting. Yeah. Okay. In those years, this tendering was the most important thing. It was growing. So Anglo America had 2 or 3 mines on the R37 Limpopo road, which was the Beggarsford site. So they had 2 or 3 mines there. So they saw their footprint. They could see that they're gonna be there for long with all the other mines that were sprouting. I mean, at that time we could count close to 24 mines.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, that's how it was. So the town was growing and everything. So they also had their social responsibility to put in.
Okay.
So they called a meeting to say, all the people who were active in this town, can we come and see you? I didn't go there as a doctor. I went there because I told you I had a side business. Yeah. I went there for other businesses that I thought I would be running. Okay. And I also thought that's what they were looking for. Okay. Because people were going to trucking. People were going into civil construction of the or any other thing that the mine could look for. You know, supply of equipment or anything, hiring of equipment. They were thinking of that mining thing, and I thought I would just go into it, forgetting my calling.
Yes,
forgetting my calling. And then I go into the sitting, and the lady who's talking there is one of my patients. I know her. She was a Portuguese lady, one of our patients, and she's talking there. And then after the whole talk, I actually go to her and I'm saying, hey, Wena, I didn't even know you were going to be part of this, but so glad. I know you work for Anglo American. That is so good. Please assist me. This is our business plan. This is what we're thinking of. And she says, you know what? Can I come and see you at your practice? Okay. And then 2 days later, she comes to the practice. She says, you know what? I heard this guy is leaving. Why are you looking at that other business?
Yeah.
Why aren't you buying into this guy? And I'm like, I was still thinking I was going to look for a bank to finance me and everything. She said, no, our mine is already bringing patients here. This practice is open 24 hours for us. This is community service for us too. We can fund you. And like, wow. And immediately then I made applications and everything. And these people funded me wholly.
Sure.
There was no cent that I had to put. I had a fight with my father because they wanted something as, as to seize so that I can put surety. You know, then I struggled, didn't have a proper home. My growing up story is a very bad one. It needs another time. So I didn't have a home. So one of the things that I did, I didn't have a home. Like, honestly, when I graduated, I didn't have a home. My parents were divorced. My mother was living in a shack. After having lived in 2 or 3 places, changing places because we just could not afford and everything. So now when I graduated, we didn't have a home. So I didn't have anything to put because the idea was usually we put houses. Yes. Don't you have your parents' house? I didn't have. Then I went to my father and I said, you have to feel pity for me. And I'm going to be a doctor, man. Can you just allow this to go through? Just give me your ownership of the house, allow it to go through. And then after it has gone through, I'm going to pay you, He just didn't allow that. I still love him. So when he didn't allow me to do that, I struggled with it. So they allowed me. Anglo gave me money without any surety, nothing on the table. I only had a life policy that I took when I was at Vets.
Talk about alignment.
Yeah, I only had a PPS policy that they made me take.
And as much as it's alignment, it's also the fact that you were part of the community. Sometimes we want to fund ideas. Like you wanted to find an idea, but fund what you have. Like, that's why I say to people when they want to start businesses, start. Let's see. At least there's a one side here that you can hold. Then when funding comes, it's not like I want to start an empowerment project.
Exactly. You don't start about, you don't create something from the sky.
Yes.
You understand? You're already in it. And for this lady to come and say, we can fund you, it's because she was already, my work is speaking for me already. For the 2 years that I was there, I was already popular myself by my own right. You understand? Even within this this white patient doctors thing. So that's how it was. They funded me. But the long story short is, my partner was able to get his money. He was able to really leave. When he left, then I had a contract I was supposed to pay them within 36 months. No. I was supposed to pay it within 5 years.
Okay.
That's how the contract went
60,
with Anglo.
Yeah.
Okay. I was supposed to do 5 years. Hey, but you know what? I was, number one, not believing I had that big practice. Not believing where I landed with everything the way it did. I repaid Anglo within 8 months.
Oh, that's great.
8 months. I stopped everything. Like,
you were like, I'm not living with that.
Hey, when they had a payment plan of saying, let's say you pay this thousands per month. Hey, now I tripled it. I put more. But I've also felt, I learned in one of the courses that I attended, some Italian guy was telling us in the entrepreneur courses and said, you know what? You need to show faith and confidence in those who were there for you in the days of need. And he was talking about banks even. I think that was an FNB thing. And he said, you know what? FNB funded me for this. It was an Italian guy making shoes in South Africa. FNB funded me for this. And I would struggle for a month. But when it hit the month end to pay them, I would pay them.
And I think it's a good way of managing debt and mindset to say, these people gave me something beforehand. I need to honor them.
It's more emotional than financial. You understand? Yeah. Then it becomes even spiritual because you put him back. I mean, God stepped in, obviously. So you put him back. You say you show him faith, and it's tithing, to be honest, in a certain way. With their own money, it's their own right to get it. So what he said is he would actually take it paid, knowing in 2 days' time he was going to go reborrow. But they would never say no because there's a pattern of you coming and servicing your loan. I learned from that. So now for me, it was not even that. It was like, I want to make sure that these people love me forever. And I'm gonna. Then I serviced it. And then they were with me for many years. Anglo supported me with a lot of things. I did documentaries for the British royal family with their work here. Anglo, they gave me an honor about 2 years later. And I was honored as one of the best clients they've ever worked with. And that put me on the pedestal, and I started working and going, and it's been good.
No, we definitely need to hear more of these stories because there is more in the bag, and my tongue is not allowing me.
I've been there many times.
So in that transitioning, now the practice transitioned into becoming your practice. What is the story that you've learned, especially doctors and practice? Did you specialize? How did you comprehend and conceptualize the practice?
Number one, like I said, what it was not important to look like a doctor.
Yeah.
So I didn't care about getting money and then quickly getting flashy life or whatever.
Okay.
You know? Okay. I know I drove a very nice car, but people don't know how that car came to be. It didn't come from this practice in this way. You understand? So even then I still continued to live in a flat. But what did I do? I wanted to reinvest into the practice. For me, the most important thing was reinvesting into the practice. It was very important. And spending time. I learned from him that the more you spend time there, or if you don't have a work-life balance, then you will actually get to regret. I was led to learn at that time, but my babies were very small. So I worked hard. And I think 4 years later, I honestly made a mistake. I was into that working hard and everything. Yeah, I was in that mood, okay? And feeling the kids were very small. I think God wanted to talk to me. Then I think exactly the 16th of December of 2010, I was crushed. I ended up in a hospital and I had an operation all out of the loads of work that I was doing. Had an operation because I was not taking care of myself at that time. And I remember the danger was I started a practice when I started we were 2. Now I'm back to being alone. And your clientele doesn't reduce. If it does, it's just so the commitment is still there. The contracts are still the same. The minds want you open.
Yes.
You understand? So I was alone totally for those years. So I'm repeating the same mistake he made. You know, but now God was like quick. You know, 2010 crushed me. I was sat down, promise you, the January of that month I was recuperating, had locums working for me. But the 1st of February closed it to just a day practice. I'm not God. That's what I learned. I'm not God. I'll work normal hours like everybody else then. Okay. But I'll still put more effort and more, like I would still have passion for it. I can still do enough in those hours. Beyond, it's not up to me unless I've got a partner.
Yeah.
And I was struggling to get partners.
Okay.
It was very difficult. Our black community doesn't believe in partnering.
No.
I don't know how you guys
Even
do it.
now, it doesn't.
The black people are into, people
We
don't
just want individualistic ventures. We struggle when we partner, we clash.
You know what was the painful thing? In Begersfort, which is 60 kilometers from Leidenberg. In Leidenberg, there were 5 old white doctors, 5 male doctors in one place. Independent practice. Yeah. They were partnering. 5. And Rena there, we're struggling to be 1 per corner. And we're surprised when they do well.
True.
You understand what I mean? And you realize, and every time I would visit them because we were really friends, this person has a successful family. This person, the kids are fine. These people are going on good holidays.
Yes.
And this person receives a salary and he's fine. He's still a director, but he gets a salary and he is fine. So what is this thing with this us, number one?
Yeah.
Another this thing, ownership mentality of black people.
Yes.
Kinako owner. And they shares them on the certificate. It must be 100% me.
100% yours.
You know?
We don't understand multiplication.
We don't understand the power in numbers, Ceci. You are as good as it ends here. There's only one brain, 2 eyes, 2 hands.
1 times 1 is 1.
1 times 1 is 1. No matter how you want to stretch it. You can come up with all these ideas. So for me, it was like that. It was... I would look for partners and I struggled. Then so for me, that's why I'm saying I kept on going because there was this thing, it was an ongoing agreement that I had with the contract that I found with this guy. Okay. But then I was struggling to replace him. I was struggling to get somebody to get that vision or that look that was selling to continue. So I did that. I crashed. So it was difficult for me to find doctors to work with me. So I grew the practice in a multidisciplinary way. The beautiful thing about UK is, and especially mental health, I learned how they were able to feed off each other. Okay. Having a physio in my room, having a dietitian in my room, having all those, making sure that we grow together. I loved that. I don't believe a patient walks in, I believe in a GP. Yeah. I don't even like this word GP. Okay, I'm a medical doctor. Yeah. Because if you say I'm a GP, you're thinking everything that has to do with your body, I must know it. And it's not true.
It's not true.
So see, even the simple arthritis, I cannot heal arthritis. Kili one. I need a physio to help me with it. I need a laboratory to tell me what's happening inside your brain, your body. You understand? I need that headache that you're bringing. It's not the real headache. It needs a psychologist. You understand what I mean? For me, that is my value add. That's what I had. I felt like, okay, if I cannot multiply Lorna, I can add limbs to Lorna. Okay. So this other people were able to grow with me. So I grew that practice from 2008, obviously, until 2019.
Okay.
It was growing and beautiful. And then in that 2019, that's when I opened Renato Clinic in 2019, 2 months before COVID. Yeah. And then a whole different story now. The world changed and my business plan changed, but it was for the best. So in learning in those days is, you're only as human, your intellectual capacity is exactly what you have. You would never know in those years, in the 2008 until then, I think I did 3 or 4 more learnings that I did. I added more certificates studying. I even added, I went to West Business School to study in business. So it was very important. I added years in studying occupational health for mine, to work with the minds, empowered myself with mental health again. So it was just that. It was continue to grow, to learn, but also not forgetting, I am not enough alone.
It's a journey of change, a journey of self-regeneration, determination and resilience.
Yeah.
But if we're to sum it up into a number, it can be a number, it can be a story about a number, anything. What would you say it is? If you were to look at just this snippet of our conversation, because we need another one.
Numbers don't lie. Yeah. Numbers don't lie. If I didn't have certain number of years in a certain environment, if I didn't go to school for those 6-7 years at first, I wouldn't be able to have been able, like for example, I wouldn't have had time to sell myself and get another doctor say, can you join me? Let's start there.
Yeah.
If I didn't work those long hours To be honest, they paid. Yeah. Maybe not fully. I still say financially, they also paid. Yeah. But in terms of me looking back and say I would never do it, it is because I had numbers. You know, I lived it. It showed me what can happen at the end. So the numbers are either guiding me forward or actually helping me to make a decision. Yeah. With the numbers, I can do checks and minuses, you know? So the numbers don't lie. Experience is experience. You can't, you can't grow experience out of air. Yeah. You're working in nature. There's no way you can say I'm well experienced without having put the number of years, days, and hours into doing something. So then I can't do a circumcision. Yeah. Right now I can do circumcision 4 in one day. 1 hour. I can do it. But in the past, I needed to do in 1 hour half a circumcision. Half. That's the numbers. It took me long to clamp that thing and whatever. But the more you do it, the more that's the numbers you've the number of penises I've cut. Yeah. Okay? It's the number of years I spent doing it. You understand? That's it. Experience comes out of numbers. That's all I can say. Mistakes come out of numbers. Yeah.
So it's an investment in the time of our life, in our day-to-day life. We need to reflect that those are numbers.
Time. As I was listening to your podcast, I was thinking, when you were talking about numbers in your accounting, I'm thinking, by virtue of being in 2024, that is numbers. That is number. The year is a number. Yeah. Because kids who were born in 1970 something are way different from this. That is number. Because things happened in between. Things happened. Technology came. You know, numbers are exactly who we are right now.
That's who we are.
That's who we are. Wrong and good.
Get the wrong side of things.
Sure.
But if we're to wrap up and conclude, either you are talking to the younger Lorna or you are talking to how many children you have? Your children, biological kids, or you're talking to your children, doctors' children. What advice would you give?
Oh, the younger Lorna. I would I would not take away anything. Yeah. I wouldn't. Even the regrets. Yeah. My greatest regret though is I feel like I came into the world with genuine belief of God being present in all spaces. Yeah. You know, I believed in, I always believed in other human beings. So that's why I would say, I've got passion for teaching that like you. Okay. So I would invest in other people, you know. I would give my all in everything. Okay. So, I would just want people, don't be too trusting. Okay. That's the thing. Hey, don't be too trusting. But then I think I came from a family or born in the time where it was just the world. I thought we all had the same purpose. We all had the same calling. We all had the same vision of where we're going forward. So we believed in good people, in working hard. So you can work hard today, but people are going to forget you worked hard. That's what I mean. Then, you know, people are going to forget you invested in them. Yeah. Or people are going to forget you actually allowed them. You were a stepping stone for them. Or you created a path for them. So those are the only regrets I have. But I wouldn't say I regret them that much. I would say I learned a lot from them. And if it was easier to actually make sure that you don't have to go through that lesson for you to learn, I wish we could. You know, when you were talking about the entrepreneur sessions, I think one of them should be just how you should always be paranoid.
Okay.
I think paranoia is given and it can get you going. Yeah. Just always, whenever there's a sentence to say, Lorna, I've got a business idea for us. Always think, what does the person think they're going to benefit from this?
What's in it for them?
What's in it for them? I think you should always, whenever you get anything, it's like, okay, now I know.
What's next? What is this person going to do?
Why did you even get up?
What are you capable of?
Why did you leave your seat to come and tell me about this? Hey, you care about me that much? So you love my business. You want to help me grow? No.
All in all, the right word is people are selfish.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the right word.
You are good to people only when they are benefiting from you. And the minute you open your eyes, you realize who they are. Remember, hey, you're dead, you're gone.
Okay, and then the children, your doctor's children, we didn't really touch on them.
With my kids, I always tell my kids my kids always tell me how proud they are. They're so proud of their mama. And now I want to teach resilience session. Resilience is good. I just don't feel it's worth it sometimes. We want to shelter our kids. I don't want them to go through the pain that I've gone through. Yeah. But I also believe that without it, then they won't be able to acquire the things that they want to acquire in life. So I try every day. Yeah, I try every day to try. I try to become a role model without saying. It's the things I do, the things the business deals I put in front, the things I touch. If I tell my kids today, Mama's going to have an interview, or if I say Mama's going to have a business meeting with these people, I want in 3 months' time to say it materialized. I want to come and say it was worth it. This is where it is. I want that. Same thing as my kids, my doctors at the clinic. When I leave and I'm saying, don't stress. If I'm not here, I'm just adding more to you. I'm adding more to your plate and your growth and everything. So for me is, as much as it is, I still believe in the people that surround me, because I will never stop praying to God to bring the right ones. Yeah. Okay, let him decipher that paranoia thing. Yeah. Okay, bring the right ones so that I don't have to regret 20 years later. But be as it may, today I'm going to make sure that I lay foundation and I make a mark on this person. But honestly, if somebody goes away and they still hate you, they hate you wherever they are, something within them tells them, that lady is a good person. I turn my hands nice. One Sati was the best thing for me. You understand? If you change jobs, you find another company and say, but even though I hated it, but that one, that's where I had more joy and more liberty to be who I was. So I'm still saying that, midst of everything, I want to be remembered for the stamp I put. No matter how small it felt for you. But I want you to always decipher and say, hey, Mara, with all the people that I've met in my life, with all the businesses that I've had, or all the ideas, hey, Lorna was it. True. Lorna was the person.
So to sum it up is never change yourself in the midst of the selfishness.
I don't want to.
Be authentic and be who you are.
Yes.
Give as you can.
Yes.
But just know that you are not expecting a thank you from anyone.
No, I'm not. Exactly. Yeah. I'm not. But that is the most important thing. I want you in your own space, whenever you grow, to know I made you. Okay? True. Don't verbalize it, but know I made you. That way you'll be able to make others. You will make others. Because you learn from somebody who doesn't want anything back.
So in the midst of time, Dr. Lorna, we just want to say thank you. But I want us to promise our listeners that when you're in Gauteng, we're definitely making the part 2. And continuation, because there is more we didn't dig. Hey, 1 hour is not.
This is tough. But you made it easy, my beautiful sister. You made it so easy. You're a natural.
Thank you so much. I always get scared. But you know what I use these sessions for? Personally, I use them as my own mentorship and development time. Sometimes I'm like, do I need to do a podcast? But when I remember how I get so motivated and I get so inspired and I get fueled up. So thank you for fueling me up and fueling the rest of the listeners. Your energy is so contagious. We just want the rest of the world to just get the energy because Dr. Lorna is in the room. So, and it's so young. You wouldn't say you are born in those years. So we really appreciate you. Definitely we are getting 130 goodies. And may you really grow. And I just want to remind our listeners that indeed our days are numbered.
They are.
May the Lord help us number our days so that we find wisdom in all that we do.
And may He increase the days so we still have more to do.
Yes, with good health. We're going to come back to that episode about good health.
With good health.
Yes.
Yeah, but I'm very grateful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.